Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Thanks, but no thanks. Detroit's police chief and Detroit's mayor responding to the president's suggestion that Detroit needs federal agents to control violence.
There's new research tonight on a mistake some people are making when they wear a mask in public.
Crimes against nature, just one of the crimes this local man is facing in a case involving people's pets. We're going to begin here at 6 with coronavirus and something we haven't yet heard from President Trump on masks.
But first, today's number of new cases in Michigan, 573, compared to yesterday's 489, and 9 more Michiganders have died from COVID-19. The state's 7-day average stands at 631. That's down just slightly over the past couple of days.
President Trump putting himself front and center today with the first briefing on the coronavirus crisis that we've seen since April.
That's right, and after months of downplaying the importance of face coverings, the president says he has no problem with them.
I have the mask right here, and I carry it, and I will use it gladly. No problem with it. And I've said that, and I say, if you can, use the mask. When you can, use the mask. If you're close to each other, if you're in a group, I would put it on when I'm in a group. If I'm in an elevator and there are other people with me, including like security people, it's not their fault. They have to be in the elevator. I want to protect them also. I put on a mask. I have no problem with the masks. I view it this way. Anything that potentially can help, and that certainly can potentially help, is a good thing. I have no problem. I carry it.
Much more from the task force on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. That's coming up at 6:30.
Now, President Trump says he is sending 150 agents from Homeland Security to Chicago because of the spike in violence in that city, and mentioned possibly sending agents to other so-called Democrat-controlled cities, and on that list he included Detroit. Mara McDonald has the response to that from Detroit's police chief and the mayor.
Devin, the chief, says that federal agents are absolutely not needed here and that his department and his department alone has handled everything dealing with the protests from the very beginning.
Violent protests across the country have continued to go on in some cities, like Portland, Oregon, where the federal government has sent Homeland Security to assist.
Portland was totally out of control. The Democrats, the liberal Democrats running the place, had no idea what they were doing. They were ripping down for 51 days, ripping down that city, destroying the city, looting it.
The president then went on to criticize violent crime spikes in cities like Chicago and New York. Trump says he's sending 150 Homeland Security agents to Chicago to help out, but did mention Detroit as a possible destination for federal agents, which certainly surprised the chief and mayor.
To suggest that the federal troops or federal agents should come in Detroit, absolutely not. When we were having some challenges early on, it was the Detroit Police Department that managed the crisis. We didn't have the state police.
The mayor echoing the chief's comments in a statement this afternoon, which in part reads, quote, unlike nearly every other major city in the country, the Detroit Police Department never requested assistance from the National Guard. We handled our issues as a community. We definitely have no need for any federal presence being sent now.
Neither the police department or the mayor's office say they've heard anything out of the feds about actually deploying Homeland Security here. We are at Detroit Police Headquarters. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
Hey, Mara. Only on Local 4, the Local 4 defenders exposing a case of disturbing animal cruelty.
27-year-old Jacob Peltz is facing a pair of felonies for allegedly soliciting people online to help him do the unthinkable. Local 4 defender Sean Lay with the allegations from investigators involving Peltz, animals, and sexual activity. Sean.
This case is disturbing. It is about Jacob Peltz from Garden City. He's been hit with some big-time felonies. It's also about the investigator who would not stop until she put a stop to this case of alleged animal cruelty.
You know, we know that dogfighting has happened. You can see over here.
The Local 4 defenders go where Elise Ramsey will go, and Ramsey will go anywhere to stop animal cruelty. She is an investigator with the Michigan Humane Society, many cases involving dog fighting, but one case was abuse of a different kind. And her investigation went on month after month to try to put a stop to it.
Truly, we were on this case pretty adamantly. And so from that initial complaint until now, over 2 years that we were working on this investigation.
In March of 2018, Craigslist shut down its personal section to help stop human trafficking. One of the final posts was local. It was anonymous, and it was shocking. A local man was seeking to engage in sexual activity with dogs. Ramsey answered the ad and began an undercover text exchange with the man that not only exposed evidence, it was sickening and exhausting.
It just gets old after a while. It was really hard. You had to keep looking at the big picture and understand that this is why I continue to text this person and continue to ask these questions.
Charges in the case were approved last Friday on 27-year-old Jacob Peltz of Garden City. He was hit with a 10-year felony for using a computer for a crime, a 5-year felony for crimes against nature, and animal cruelty charges for an injured rabbit that was recovered.
It does happen, and it's shocking and disturbing how flagrant people are about these wants and desires.
There is more. Ramsey says Peltz did have a part-time job working with animals. Tonight, the Michigan Humane Society says if you think your pet had contact with him and may be a victim, they want to hear from you. Sean Lay, Local 4 Defenders.
And Jacob Peltz was given a personal bond and is out of jail tonight. He's due to appear in court to face the charges next Monday.
Major developments tonight in the court battle over in-person summer school for Detroit Public Schools Community District. A judge has ruled the in-person classes can continue, but all students attending those classes need to have COVID-19 tests. This comes after a lawsuit was filed by parents, teachers, students, and the activist group By Any Means Necessary against the district. If tests for the students are not completed the next 2 days, in-person learning could be shut down. Now, testing for the approximately 630 students can begin tomorrow. We will be watching closely.
That we will. And DTE says they've just about finished restoring the power knocked out by Sunday's storms, but now a new round of storms on the horizon here.
That's how it is. Let's check in with Ben on where things stand here. Ben?
Yeah, we do have some activity tonight, guys, but it's really tomorrow that we expect the stronger of the storms to show up. On radar, there's a lot of activity across Illinois, and that's probably what's going to show up overnight. But you can see that stuff out of Fort Wayne is starting to fall apart. Other than just a couple sprinkles that may graze our south zone, we shouldn't have any issues until after midnight tonight. However, tomorrow, this is the severe risk that's out. It's a marginal risk for most of us. And again, that's mainly for what's coming tomorrow afternoon. That's the lowest on the scale there at marginal. But for the rest of the evening, falling into the 70s, again, a south zone shower possible, and we'll start seeing more thunderstorms develop as we head towards midnight tonight. We'll talk timing of that coming up. And don't forget, you can follow this on the Local Forecasters app to watch those storms move in. And of course, the next 10 days forecast as well. It's free in your app store by searching WDIV. Guys?
An Amazon delivery driver whose arrest in Warren sparked controversy is facing criminal charges. Some people felt the arresting officer went too far in forcing Jalen Bond to the ground over a parking issue. But an independent review of the case found no laws were violated by police. Larry Spruill is live with the new charges against the delivery driver. He joins us with more. Larry, good evening.
Good evening, Kimberly. It's another chapter of the Warren Police versus the Amazon driver, and tonight that driver is facing 2 misdemeanor charges. Tonight, the police and his attorney are talking. This video is getting attention once again. It shows Warren Police arresting Amazon driver 23-year-old Jalen Bond after police say he failed to identify himself after parking the wrong way in this Warren neighborhood. It's something Commissioner Bill Dwyer said could have been avoided.
The officer had a legal right by state law to ask that driver for his driver's license. He made the request 10 times.
Originally, Macomb County prosecutor denied charging Jalen Bond with resisting arrest. There were claims of police brutality, but an independent investigation by the Macomb County Sheriff's Office found the officer's actions did not violate state law or policies of Warren Police. Fast forward to now, Bond is charged with 2 counts of misdemeanor charges, refusing to obey officers' traffic order, which is 90 days in jail and or a $100 fine, and operating a vehicle without a license, which is also 90 days in jail and or a $100 fine. And I reached out to Bond's attorney, and he tells me that his office finds these charges puzzling because there were no charges filed originally, and this is the same information presented then as it is now. He tells me that his client is being bullied by the Warren Police Department, and they will fight this in court. We're live tonight. Larry Sproul, Local 4.
All right, Larry. Let's talk again about masks and the correct way to wear them. You have no doubt seen plenty of people in public with their mask pulled down so that it only covers their mouth, leaving their nose or nostrils exposed. Dr. Frank McGeorge here with new research suggesting that this defeats, I guess, the point of wearing one more than you might think. Frank.
Yeah, Devin, you know, while masks do protect the wearer to some degree, the primary purpose of a mask is what's called source control, limiting the amount of infectious droplet coming out of the wearer's respiratory tract, both the mouth and the nose. Here's why. Most people usually breathe through their noses, and for good reason. We smell through our noses. Our noses warm and humidify the air we breathe, and they help filter out debris and microorganisms in the air. Breathing out through the nose is also healthier. It naturally improves lung and circulatory function. It also gives your body a chance to reclaim some of the warmth and humidity that you would otherwise just exhale into the environment. Unfortunately, just like the nose is better for breathing, the nose also appears to be better at spreading COVID-19. A study published in the journal Cell mapped locations in the respiratory tract where the COVID-19 virus most quickly invades, multiplies, and spreads from. They found the cells that line the nose were significantly more likely to become infected and shed virus compared to the throat or lungs. That means every time a person exhales through their nose, they're likely generating a higher concentration of infectious aerosol than if they were simply breathing from their mouth. It also means in order to block that infectious cloud from escaping to infect other people, it's just as important to cover your nose with a mask. Now, another really interesting thought that was generated by this study addresses the question of how the SARS-CoV-2 virus even infects people's lungs to begin with. The researchers actually suggested, based on their findings, the virus doesn't get to the lungs through the blood or even by marching lower down the respiratory tract. They think it may simply jump from the lungs or to the lungs from the infected nasal secretions that a susceptible person aspirates or inhales.
This is fascinating to me that they can drill down and figure out which part of your respiratory architecture holds the virus. But does having more virus in the nose then have any effect on the symptoms that someone might have?
Well, you know, it helps explain why so many people have a loss of smell, and it also helps explain why so many people are either asymptomatic or have only minimal symptoms. If the primary site of attack is the nose, it wouldn't feel very significant until it traveled down into the lungs. And this, of course, I want to remind people, is only one study, but it does raise some very interesting points.
That's fascinating. Yeah. All right, Frank.
Really is. Okay, still ahead for us, a special moment for a rookie cop who knew just what to do when a baby was choking. We'll have that coming up, and here's Hank.
A surprising switch for Amazon Prime Day, and also Starbucks changing up its loyalty program. That and where to get big deals online right now, coming up in my Help Me Hank consumer headlines.